The rain began as the academy emptied for the day. Children hurried through the gate beside waiting parents, while Sakura Haruno stood under the wooden awning and watched Naruto Uzumaki remain alone in the courtyard. Naruto jumped into a puddle and shouted that the future Hokage was not afraid of a little rain. Sakura almost laughed. Then an instructor saw Naruto, hardened his expression, and walked away. Naruto noticed the look and made his grin wider. Still, nobody came for him. When Naruto finally started home through the downpour, Sakura ran after him and pressed her paper umbrella into his hands. He asked why she cared. Sakura told him the future Hokage would look stupid if he caught a fever before graduation. Then she ran home with her school bag over her head. Naruto stood in the rain for several seconds before opening the umbrella. The paper canopy was small, and one rib had already bent from the wind, but he held it as carefully as if Sakura had handed him something expensive. He walked home instead of running. Water streamed from the roofs and filled the gutters, while warm light shone behind apartment windows along the street. At his own building, Naruto shook the umbrella dry beneath the stairs before taking it inside. His apartment was quiet. He set the umbrella beside the door where he could see it from the table, made a cup of instant ramen, and caught himself looking at the handle twice while he ate. Sakura reached home soaked from the shoulders down. Her mother asked what had happened to the umbrella. Sakura said she had lent it to Naruto because he had none. Her mother paused with a towel in her hands, then told Sakura to dry her hair before she caught a cold herself. The pause lasted long enough for Sakura to notice, but this time her mother did not tell her she had done anything wrong. The next morning, Naruto arrived early. That alone was strange enough to make half the class notice. He usually entered after the first bell, often through a window, and always with an excuse that became less believable the longer he explained it. This time, he walked through the door carrying Sakura's umbrella with both hands. He had cleaned the mud from the handle. He had even tied the strap neatly around it, though he had done such a poor job that the knot looked ready to collapse. He dropped it on Sakura's desk and told her that she could have it back because he had survived. Sakura said she could see that. Naruto hovered beside the desk a moment longer, waiting for something even he did not seem able to name. Finally, he asked why she had given it to him. Sakura looked up from the umbrella. She had not prepared an answer. The truth was that she did not know. She had seen a boy standing alone in the rain and had done the first thing that felt right, so she told him that he had looked pathetic. Naruto laughed so loudly that Iruka had to tell him to sit down. The moment should have ended there. Instead, Sakura began noticing him, and once she started, it became difficult to stop. Naruto was always the loudest child in the room, yet there were parts of his life that seemed strangely quiet. When lessons ended, other children complained about chores waiting at home. Naruto never did. When parents came to collect younger students during storms, he wandered away alone. When classmates traded stories about birthdays, cousins, fathers, and mothers, Naruto usually interrupted with a joke or a challenge before anyone could ask him a question. The adults were stranger. Sakura had seen teachers irritated with lazy students. She had seen shopkeepers chase children away from fruit stands after they stole samples. What she saw around Naruto was different. Some adults became cold before he had done anything at all. Others lowered their voices when he passed. Once, while Sakura and her mother were buying vegetables, Naruto stopped outside the store to look at steamed buns cooling beside the counter. The owner stepped between Naruto and the food, even though Naruto had not entered the shop. Naruto made a face at the man and moved on. Sakura kept watching him through the open door. Her mother noticed and gently turned her back toward the vegetables. That evening, Sakura asked why some adults disliked Naruto. Her mother became busy with a knife and a pile of radishes. She said Naruto caused trouble. Sakura pointed out that Kiba caused trouble too, and nobody stared at him like that. Her mother cut the next radish too hard. The blade struck the board with a sharp crack. She told Sakura not to worry about things she was too young to understand. That answer bothered Sakura more than an explanation would have. Naruto kept making it difficult to feel sorry for him in a simple way. he was too annoying for that. A week after the rainstorm, Sakura found him balancing on the fence behind the academy, when he was supposed to be copying a page of punishment lines. He claimed the fence was advanced Hokage training. 2 minutes later, he fell into a bush. Another day, he painted a crude mustache on the face of a practice dummy and insisted it made the target look like an enemy commander. He argued with Iruka, challenged older students, and once tried to catch a stray cat by diving through a laundry line. Sakura laughed at him more than once. The difference was that she stopped laughing when everyone else walked away. One afternoon, she found Naruto sitting behind the academy with a bruised cheek after a sparring lesson. He had lost to a boy from the class above him, and then demanded a rematch until the instructor threatened to suspend both of them. Sakura asked why he kept doing that when he knew he would lose. Naruto rubbed the bruise and looked genuinely confused by the question. If he stopped every time someone stronger beat him, he said, he would never become Hokage. Sakura told him that getting punched in the face was not a training plan. Naruto agreed. Then he said getting punched in the face twice might teach him something the first punch had missed. She called him an idiot. He grinned. That was the first time Sakura understood that his dream was not just noise. Naruto truly believed it. He believed it when older students laughed. He believed it when instructors sighed at his grades. He believed it when shopkeepers watched him as if he might steal. He believed it after failing exercises that other students completed in one afternoon. The belief made no sense to Sakura, which was exactly why she could not stop thinking about it. Over the next year, the distance between their desks began to matter less. Sakura still spent time with Ino Yamanaka. Ino had been the first girl who helped Sakura when other children teased her about her forehead, and that friendship did not vanish because Sakura had become curious about Naruto. Instead, Ino became the first person to notice that Sakura had developed a habit of saving a seat beside her during study periods. At first, Sakura denied doing it. Then, Naruto arrived late, dropped into the empty seat, and immediately asked to copy her notes. Ino looked at Sakura with such obvious amusement that Sakura kicked her under the table. Sakura did not simply hand Naruto answers. The first time she tried to explain chakra theory to him, she discovered that he had memorized several terms incorrectly and had built an entire understanding around those mistakes. He thought the chakra network worked like a set of pipes that could be forced wider if a shinobi simply pushed hard enough. Sakura spent half an hour correcting him. Naruto listened for 4 minutes, became restless, and tried to demonstrate his version by pumping far too much chakra into a basic leaf exercise. The leaf shot off his forehead and stuck to the ceiling. Sakura laughed until her stomach hurt. Naruto stared at the leaf, then laughed too. The next day, he asked her to explain it again. That mattered. Naruto hated looking stupid in front of people who expected him to fail. With Sakura, he gradually stopped pretending that he already knew everything. He still argued. He still guessed. He still complained that written theory was invented by boring adults who wanted children to suffer. But he asked questions. His grades improved slightly, not enough to make him a strong student. His handwriting remained terrible, and he could forget 3 pages of history overnight, while remembering the exact route a teacher used to patrol the academy roof. His control over chakra continued to cause problems that Sakura could not fix by explaining them. Whenever Naruto tried to divide his chakra evenly for the clone jutsu, the result was either a pale, useless body or too much force poured into the technique at once. Sakura began to understand that helping him did not mean solving him. Naruto changed her too. Sakura was good at memorizing instructions because she hated being wrong in front of people. That same fear made her cautious during practical lessons. When an instructor demonstrated a difficult throw, Sakura preferred to wait until she was sure she understood the movement. Naruto usually volunteered first and missed. He missed loudly. Then he tried again. During one shuriken exercise, Sakura hesitated so long that the student behind her muttered that she should move aside if she was scared. Her fingers tightened around the metal star. She could already imagine it striking the outer ring while everyone watched. Naruto called from the fence that she should throw it before it grew old in her hand. Several children laughed. Sakura threw. The shuriken struck outside the center. Naruto cheered anyway, then demanded that she do it again because the second one would be better. It was. Sakura never thanked him for that lesson. Naruto probably never realized he had taught one. By the time another winter passed, they had become part of each other's routines. Naruto knew which street Sakura took home and which training field she preferred when the main academy yard was crowded. Sakura knew Naruto kept emergency coins in an old cup behind a loose board in his apartment because he had once spent nearly all of his monthly village stipend on ramen and then discovered he still needed soap. She did not manage his money for him. She mocked him so thoroughly that he began dividing his coins into 2 jars. One was labeled food. The other was labeled important food. Both were for ramen. Sakura eventually forced him to change the second label to rent. Naruto complained for 3 days, but the label stayed. There were limits to what Sakura saw. She did not spend every evening in his apartment. Her parents allowed study sessions in public places and short visits when they knew where she was. But her mother still became tense whenever Naruto stayed too late. Naruto would have hated being watched that closely anyway. Most days, they separated after training and lived their own lives. That made the small changes easier to notice. Naruto began arriving at the academy early on days when he knew Sakura planned to practice. Sakura started carrying a second rice ball when she knew Naruto had skipped breakfast. Naruto started saving his best jokes until Sakura was nearby, because she rolled her eyes in a way that made him try harder. Sakura began looking toward the door whenever he was late. Ino noticed all of it. She also noticed that Sakura no longer spoke about Sasuke Uchiha the way many girls in their class did. Sakura could see why they liked him. Sasuke was talented, calm, and handsome in a way that made a room pay attention, even when he said nothing. Sakura respected his skill. She occasionally watched him train because everyone watched him train. Then, Naruto would crash into a target post, swear that he meant to do it, and somehow, Sakura's attention would end up somewhere else. Ino found this hilarious. Sakura found it irritating that Ino found it hilarious. Naruto knew almost nothing about any of this. He knew Sakura was important to him long before he had words for why. At first, the reason seemed obvious. Sakura was one of the few people his age who chose to sit with him when she could sit somewhere else. She corrected him when he was wrong, instead of deciding he was hopeless. She became angry when he skipped meals, and even angrier when he pretended he had not. When he got into trouble, she did not always defend him. Sometimes she agreed with Iruka and told Naruto he deserved the punishment. That was strangely comforting. Her kindness did not feel like fear or duty. It had rules. It could be annoyed. It could say no. Naruto trusted it because of that. Then he began noticing things about Sakura that had nothing to do with himself. He noticed how she always checked her work twice before turning it in. He noticed how she became embarrassed when praised too loudly. He noticed that she hated when people touched her forehead and pretended not to care. He noticed that she stayed after class to help Ino clean a broken ink bottle, even though Sakura had not spilled it. One day, Sakura failed a complicated chakra control drill 3 times and sat down with her arms wrapped around her knees, furious with herself. Naruto dropped beside her and announced that 3 failures were nothing. He had once failed the same exercise 11 times before Iruka stopped counting. Sakura told him that was not encouraging. Naruto said it should be, because if someone as hopeless as him could eventually get it, she had no excuse. Sakura threw a twig at his head. He ducked and laughed. She tried again 5 minutes later. That was how their friendship grew. Not through one grand promise, but through hundreds of small moments that neither of them understood were becoming important. Sakura realized first. It happened during a spring training day, when Naruto did not come to the academy. Usually, it meant he had overslept, gotten punished, or spent the morning avoiding Iruka after some new disaster. Sakura expected to be annoyed. Instead, she spent the first lesson staring at his empty seat. During lunch, she asked Iruka where Naruto was. Iruka said Naruto had caught a fever, and had been ordered to stay home. Sakura remembered the rain years earlier and felt a sharp, ridiculous urge to go make sure he had not died. She waited until lessons ended, bought a packet of medicine with part of her allowance, then stood outside Naruto's apartment for nearly a full minute, wondering whether this was strange. Naruto opened the door before she knocked a second time. His hair was flattened on one side, his face was flushed, and he had wrapped himself in a blanket like a badly made cloak. He stared at the medicine. Then he smiled in a way that made Sakura's chest feel too small. That was the moment she understood she had a problem. She did not tell him. For several months, Sakura tried to treat the realization as if it were another difficult assignment. She could ignore it. She could focus on training. She could stop looking at Naruto when he entered a room. This worked for almost 9 minutes at a time. Ino became increasingly merciless. She never mocked Naruto with cruelty. Ino had known Sakura long enough to understand when a joke would actually hurt her. But she began raising one eyebrow whenever Naruto appeared. She asked why Sakura suddenly cared whether Naruto passed practical drills. She once asked whether Sakura planned to become Hokage's wife if Naruto somehow survived long enough to win the title. Sakura threatened to stop speaking to her. Ino said that would be difficult because Sakura needed someone intelligent to talk to while Naruto was shouting. The real trouble came from other girls. It happened after afternoon lessons near the academy steps. Naruto had gone to return borrowed training weights to a storage room. Sakura waited outside with Ino and 3 other students from their year. One of the girls noticed Sakura looking toward the door and asked who she was waiting for. Ino's mouth twitched. Sakura told her to be quiet before Ino had said anything. That made everything worse. The questions came quickly after that. Did Sakura actually like Naruto? Did she really spend time helping him study? Was she waiting for him on purpose? One girl laughed and asked whether Sakura had fallen in love with the biggest idiot in the academy. Sakura's face burned. She could feel every pair of eyes on her. She remembered adults going silent when Naruto walked past. She remembered her mother's warning years earlier. She imagined the story spreading through the class by morning. Her answer came too fast. Of course, she was not in love with Naruto, she said. She only helped him because somebody had to. She would never date an idiot like him. The laughter around her lasted less than a second. Sakura knew something was wrong before she turned. Naruto stood in the academy doorway with the training weights hanging from one hand. He had heard enough. For a moment his face was empty with surprise. Then his mouth stretched into a grin Sakura knew too well. He laughed and said that was good, because he had never asked her to date him anyway. He put the weights down beside the door and walked past them. Sakura called his name. Naruto lifted one hand without turning around. He said he had training to do. Sakura did not follow him immediately. She was too ashamed, and Ino's expression made the shame worse. Ino did not shout at her. She quietly said that Sakura had better decide whether she cared more about those girls laughing for 1 minute or Naruto remembering those words for years. Sakura ran after him then. Naruto was already gone. The next morning, the seat beside Sakura stayed empty until the last moment. Naruto entered with Iruka, sat on the other side of the room, and did not look at her. That hurt more than if he had yelled. Sakura cornered him after class and apologized. Naruto accepted too quickly. He said it was fine. He said she had not done anything wrong. He said they were still friends. Then he left, before she could ask why he sounded like he was speaking to a teacher. For the next 2 weeks, Naruto remained polite. He no longer waited for Sakura after lessons. He stopped asking for help unless an instructor paired them together. If she offered him food, he claimed he had already eaten. When she walked toward his usual training field, he suddenly remembered somewhere else he needed to be. Sakura finally found him on the academy roof one evening. He was practicing hand signs alone, repeating them until his fingers shook from speed. Sakura climbed over the edge and sat several steps away. Naruto kept practicing. She apologized again. This time she left embarrassment and the other girls out of the explanation. She told him that she had said something cruel because she wanted other people to stop looking at her, and that she had used him to make herself feel safe. Naruto lowered his hands. He asked the question he had avoided for 2 weeks. If she really thought he was such an idiot, why had she spent years pretending otherwise? Sakura said she did think he was an idiot sometimes. Naruto glared at her. Sakura almost smiled, but forced herself to continue. Being an idiot was not the problem. The problem was that she had acted like knowing him was embarrassing. Naruto looked away toward the village roofs. He said that was what everyone did. People were kinder when nobody was watching. Then someone else appeared, and suddenly they remembered what they were supposed to think about him. Sakura had no answer strong enough to repair that in one evening, so she stopped trying to find one. She told Naruto that she would prove it instead. He gave a small shrug, as if he did not care. The next weeks became uncomfortable in a different way. Sakura stopped hiding the friendship. When Naruto was punished for putting chalk inside a teacher's desk, Sakura did not defend the prank. She waited outside until his punishment ended and walked home with him anyway. When students chose partners for a tracking exercise, she chose Naruto before anyone could make a joke. When an older boy called Naruto a deadweight during a mixed class drill, Sakura told him to worry about his own score. She did not do these things loudly. That would have turned Naruto into a performance again. She simply stopped stepping away. Naruto noticed. Then, during a lunch break, one of the same girls from the academy steps saw Sakura sharing a training manual with him and made a familiar joke. She asked whether Sakura was still taking care of her favorite idiot. Sakura closed the book. She looked directly at the girl and said, "He is my friend. What about it?" The answer was so ordinary that the girl had nothing prepared for it. Naruto stared at Sakura for several seconds. After the girl walked away, he leaned over the book and quietly asked whether she actually understood the chapter they were studying. Sakura said she did. Naruto moved his chair closer. The distance between them never returned. By the time graduation approached, their friendship had survived long enough to become part of the academy itself. Naruto still got in trouble. Sakura still got angry with him. They argued about training, food, homework, and whether sneaking onto the Hokage monument counted as cardio. Ino still watched them with the patient expression of someone waiting for two slow people to understand something obvious. Yet, neither Naruto nor Sakura spoke directly about love. Sakura knew what she felt. Saying it aloud remained harder. Naruto knew only that the idea of Sakura leaving the academy while he remained behind made his stomach twist. That fear became real on graduation day. The clone jutsu exam was simple for most of the class. Sakura produced clean copies of herself and passed easily. Sasuke did the same with almost insulting precision. One by one, students left the examination room with leaf forehead protectors tied around their heads. Naruto entered last among the students waiting in his group. He had studied. Sakura knew because she had studied with him. He understood the hand signs, the chakra theory, and the instructor's expectations better than he ever had before. None of that fixed the problem inside the technique. Naruto formed the signs, pushed chakra through the jutsu, and created a limp, pale clone that collapsed onto the floor like an empty shirt. Silence filled the room. Naruto tried again. The second clone was worse. Iruka's face tightened with regret. Mizuki, seated beside him as the other examiner, kept his expression sympathetic. Naruto failed. He walked out without a forehead protector. Sakura was waiting beneath the tree outside the academy. Her new leaf plate felt heavier the moment she saw his face. Naruto congratulated her before she could speak. He looked at the metal plate on her forehead, grinned, and said he would get his tomorrow somehow. Sakura told him there was no exam tomorrow. Naruto said there would be if he convinced Iruka to make one. Then he left. Sakura started after him, stopped, and let him go. She had learned that helping Naruto did not mean following every wound until he allowed her to cover it. That evening, someone knocked on the outside of her bedroom window. Sakura nearly screamed before recognizing the blonde head hanging upside down from the roof. A huge scroll was strapped across his back. Naruto climbed inside, only after she opened the window, and immediately announced that he had found a way to pass after all. Mizuki had told him about a special test. Naruto only had to learn one technique from the scroll of sealing, demonstrate it before dawn, and he could qualify as a genin. Sakura stared at the scroll, then at him. She asked why Iruka had never mentioned such a test, and why any graduation test would begin with taking a forbidden scroll from the Hokage residence. Naruto's confidence flickered. He insisted Mizuki was an academy teacher too, and that this was his one chance to earn the same forehead protector as everyone else. Mizuki had told him to practice in the narrow ravine east of the academy, away from patrol routes, and wait there until he came. Sakura grabbed Naruto's sleeve and told him to return the scroll before the village treated him like an enemy. Naruto pulled free. He had already gone too far to admit the whole thing might be a trap, and he wanted to prove he could earn graduation without Sakura or Iruka carrying him through it. He promised to explain everything in the morning, then disappeared across the rooftops. Sakura stood at the window for 3 heartbeats before running for Iruka. She lost precious minutes because Iruka was no longer at home or the academy. The theft had already been discovered, and he had been called toward the Hokage residence while Chunin patrols spread through the village. Sakura finally intercepted him near the administrative district and told him exactly what Naruto had said, including the ravine. Mizuki was already missing. Sakura's warning changed the search from half the eastern forest to one place. Iruka still had to reach it, and Naruto had a long head start. Iruka told Sakura that the ravine was now part of an active shinobi emergency. Sakura answered that he could waste time finding the lower entrance, or let her show him the 2-minute path Naruto always used. Years earlier, Naruto had spent 3 days there, trying to copy a tree climbing exercise he had seen older shinobi practicing, long before he had any business attempting it. Iruka looked furious, because she was right. He took her as far as the tree line, ordered her to remain behind a thick cedar, and told her that if anyone other than him approached, she was to run back toward the village and raise the alarm. Sakura obeyed for almost 3 minutes. Then she heard metal strike metal, deeper in the forest. She moved closer, staying low and keeping the cedar trunks between herself and the sound. She stopped when she saw the clearing below. Naruto stood near the huge scroll, breathing hard. Iruka was between him and Mizuki. A deep cut crossed Iruka's back and shoulder from their earlier exchange, and blood darkened his uniform. Sakura's stomach turned. Mizuki was talking loudly now. His earlier kindness had disappeared. He told Naruto that the adults of Konoha had not hated him because of pranks or bad grades. 12 years earlier, the Nine Tails had devastated the village. The beast had been sealed inside a newborn child, and that child was Naruto. Sakura gripped the cedar bark so hard that it cut her palm. For years, the cold looks had never made sense. Now, the shopkeeper, the whispers, her mother's warning, and the guarded faces of certain teachers all pointed to the same secret Naruto himself had never been told. Sakura looked at him and saw that anger had not reached him yet. He looked hollow. Then Mizuki said that this was why nobody could truly care about him. People might pity the child, but they knew what lived inside him. They would always know. Naruto's eyes moved across the clearing. They found Sakura behind the tree. She saw the exact moment he realized she had heard everything. His face changed. The pain there was worse than the shock. He thought he had lost her. Mizuki moved before Sakura could do anything. He yanked a wire hidden among the branches, and a giant shuriken dropped from above into a spinning path toward Naruto's back. Sakura shouted. Iruka hit Naruto from the side and knocked him clear. The blade clipped Iruka across the ribs and threw him against a tree, opening another bloody line through his uniform instead of driving through his body. Naruto froze. Then something in him snapped into focus. Iruka, already bleeding, told Naruto that Mizuki was twisting the seal into a lie. Naruto could be hurt by betrayal, chase ridiculous promises because he wanted people to smile, and still keep trying to earn their respect. Those were the reactions of a boy Iruka had taught for years. Whatever had been sealed inside him, Naruto Uzumaki was his student. Mizuki rushed them. Naruto opened the scroll of sealing. He had spent the evening learning the first technique he could understand. It had looked almost like the clone jutsu, except the instruction described real bodies of chakra rather than illusions. The forest exploded with smoke. Mizuki stopped. Hundreds of Narutos filled the clearing, the ravine, the lower branches, and every patch of open ground Sakura could see for one stunned second. Even Naruto seemed surprised by how many he had made. Then, Mizuki attacked. He was a trained Chunin fighting a child. The first 3 clones disappeared under his kicks. He drove an elbow through a fourth, spun beneath 2 punches, and cut another with a kunai. Against a normal academy graduate, the fight would have ended there. The 5th clone grabbed his ankle. Mizuki stabbed downward and destroyed it. The 6th hit him across the jaw. The 7th tackled his waist. He tore free and found 10 more already moving. Naruto had no refined formation. He had no elegant taijutsu plan. What he had was numbers, stubbornness, and enough anger to keep sending fresh bodies into every opening Mizuki created. The Chunin could block 1 fist. He could not block 3 while a 4th clone kicked the back of his knee. He could throw 1 attacker away and immediately find another hanging from his shoulders. Every clone that vanished gave the next one a clearer view of what Mizuki had done. Naruto adapted without understanding that he was adapting. The first wave attacked high. Mizuki ducked. The next wave swept low. Mizuki jumped. 3 clones met him in the air. He hit the ground hard. Naruto did not give him time to rise. When the smoke finally began to thin, Mizuki was unconscious beneath a pile of disappearing clones. The original Naruto stood several steps away, shaking with exhaustion. Iruka slid down against a tree. Sakura left her hiding place. Naruto saw her and stiffened. He looked at her face, searching for fear. Sakura was afraid. She had just learned that the most dangerous creature in Konoha had been sealed inside the boy she had known for years. She had watched a Chunin try to kill him. She had seen hundreds of identical Narutos fill a forest. Her hands were still trembling. She walked to Naruto anyway. He took 1 step backward. Sakura stopped close enough that he would not need to raise his voice. "I don't understand the 9 tails," she said. "I understand you." Sakura reached up and touched the edge of the scroll strap on his shoulder, because she did not know what else to do with her hands. She asked whether he was hurt. Naruto laughed once, too sharply, and wiped his face with his sleeve. He said he was fine. This time, Sakura knew he was lying. She did not call him on it. Iruka did that for her by telling both of them to stop standing around and help him before he bled to death. The panic broke. Naruto and Sakura rushed to him at the same time. Before dawn, Mizuki was in custody and the scroll of sealing had been returned. A medic treated Iruka's back and the long cut across his ribs, then kept him under observation until the bleeding stopped. Naruto and Sakura were taken to the Hokage's office before anyone was allowed to go home. Hiruzen did not pretend the night could be reduced to a lecture. A sealing specialist checked the marks on Naruto's abdomen and confirmed that the seal had not been damaged by the theft or the fight. Hiruzen explained only what Naruto needed to know at 12 years old. The 9 tails was sealed inside him. Naruto was its host, not the beast itself, and the adults of Konoha had been forbidden to tell the village's children because the secret could make him a target. The rule had never stopped every adult from treating him as one. Naruto asked whether Hiruzen had known why people hated him. Hiruzen said yes. Naruto's chair scraped backward hard enough to mark the floor. He did not shout for long. The quieter questions were worse, especially the ones about why nobody had ever told him, and whether his parents had known what would happen to him. Hiruzen answered what he could, and admitted when the full truth was not something he would explain that morning. Naruto hated that answer, but at least it was an answer given to his face. Sakura received a different warning. What she had heard was classified village information. Iruka made her promise it would not become academy gossip, and Hiruzen explained that careless talk could put Naruto in danger outside Konoha. She also received a sharp lecture for leaving the hiding place Iruka had ordered her to keep. Naruto still faced consequences for stealing a forbidden scroll. Hiruzen accepted that Mizuki had manipulated him, but Naruto would spend several weeks helping restore records and damaged equipment after training. Iruka came out later with fresh bandages beneath his uniform and a leaf forehead protector in his hand. Naruto stared at it. Iruka told him that anyone who could learn the Shadow Clone Jutsu from the Scroll of Sealing in a single night had clearly demonstrated enough skill to graduate, even if he had chosen the worst possible way to prove it. Naruto accepted the forehead protector with both hands. He tied it around his head badly. Sakura reached over, pulled the knot loose, and tied it properly. Naruto complained that he had almost had it. Sakura told him that was what he always said. Iruka watched them argue and smiled despite himself. The next 3 days were less easy than Naruto pretended. He slept badly, woke twice with his hand pressed over the seal he could not normally see, and became angry whenever an adult stared too long. Sakura did not follow him everywhere. She trained with him when he asked, left when he wanted space, and sat beside him at Ichiraku when he discovered that ramen still tasted exactly the same after learning there was a monster sealed inside him. That ordinary fact helped more than either of them expected. The next phase of their lives began 3 days later. The new genin gathered in the academy classroom to hear their team assignments. Sakura sat beside Naruto. Ino sat behind them. Sasuke sat near the window and appeared uninterested in everyone. When Iruka announced Team 7, the room reacted at once. Sasuke Uchiha, highest-ranked graduate. Sakura Haruno, one of the strongest students in written work and chakra control. Naruto Uzumaki, lowest official score among the graduating students, but now the boy who had passed under exceptional circumstances. Sakura looked at Naruto. Naruto looked at Sasuke. Sasuke looked toward the front of the room and sighed. Ino leaned forward and whispered that Sakura had managed to get both the loudest boy and the quietest boy in the class on the same team. Sakura told her to enjoy whatever disaster she had been assigned instead. Their Jonin instructor arrived late. Kakashi Hatake introduced himself with visible disinterest and took them to the roof for introductions before dismissing them for the day. Naruto announced that he would become Hokage. Sakura said she wanted to become a kunoichi strong enough to stand on her own in a real mission, a goal that made Naruto grin until she elbowed him. Sasuke's answer changed the mood. He did not call his goal a dream. His clan had been murdered by his older brother, Itachi Uchiha, and Sasuke intended to become strong enough to kill him. Naruto had known Sasuke was alone. He had not known the shape of that loneliness. Sakura looked at the Uchiha crest on Sasuke's back and understood why he treated every exercise like wasted time unless it made him stronger. Neither of them suddenly knew how to speak to him. Sasuke clearly preferred it that way. The following morning, Kakashi took them to a training ground and placed 2 small bells on his belt. There were 3 genin. The rule was simple: take a bell before noon. Anyone without one, return to the academy. Naruto immediately objected to the numbers. Kakashi told him that noticing unfair rules was useful. Surviving them was more useful. The test began. Naruto and Sakura disappeared into the trees together, almost by instinct. Sasuke went the opposite direction. Kakashi noticed. The first attack came from Naruto. 3 shadow clones burst from the brush and rushed Kakashi from different angles. Sakura remained hidden, watching the Jonin's feet through the leaves. Naruto had improved his basic taijutsu, but against Kakashi, the difference was absurd. Kakashi avoided the first punch by turning his shoulder, redirected the second clone into the third, and swept the original's legs without even looking directly at him. Naruto hit the ground. Sakura threw 2 kunai from cover. Kakashi stepped aside. The kunai were not aimed at him. They cut the cord of a small branch trap Sakura had prepared above the clearing. A weighted training log swung down toward Kakashi's blind side. For the first time, Kakashi moved quickly. He ducked under the log. Naruto jumped from the ground and reached for the bells. Kakashi caught his wrist. A moment later, Naruto was hanging upside down from a tree by a rope he had never seen Kakashi place. Sakura stayed hidden. Kakashi walked toward Naruto, reached into his pouch, and casually raised a kunai toward the rope. Sakura knew Naruto would only fall a few feet. She knew Kakashi was testing her. She moved anyway. The instant she left cover, Kakashi was behind her. His fingers touched the back of her neck before she could turn. "Dead," he said. Sakura's stomach dropped. Across the clearing, the hanging Naruto shouted at Kakashi to leave her alone. Kakashi cut Naruto's rope. Naruto fell on his head. The first part of the test ended with Sakura furious, Naruto muddy, and Sasuke still somewhere in the trees. Sasuke attacked Kakashi alone 10 minutes later and lasted longer than either of them. He used Shuriken to limit Kakashi's movement, followed with a flower-style technique that forced the Jonin away from the dry brush, and nearly reached one bell before Kakashi replaced himself with a training log. The wire Sasuke had meant to trap Kakashi snapped tight around his own ankle. A second hidden line caught his wrist, leaving him pinned against a tree until Kakashi cut him loose at noon. None of them had a bell. Kakashi sat on a wooden post and explained the problem. Naruto and Sakura had years of trust, but they had turned that trust into a private wall. The moment one appeared threatened, the other stopped thinking. Sasuke had done the opposite. He trusted nobody, and therefore had to solve every problem alone. Kakashi tapped the two bells. A real enemy, he said, would notice both weaknesses within minutes. He gave them one final chance. This time, the three genin talked before moving. Sasuke disliked Naruto's first plan. Sakura disliked Sasuke's second. Naruto complained that both of them rejected every interesting idea. After several minutes, they built something from all three. Naruto would make noise because he was very good at it. Sasuke would attack from the direction Kakashi least expected. Sakura would stay far enough back to watch the entire field instead of watching only Naruto. The second test began. Naruto filled the clearing with clones. Kakashi destroyed the first line easily. He jumped over the next pair and avoided a third by stepping onto a training post. Sakura watched the pattern. Kakashi consistently moved toward open ground when the clones crowded him. Sasuke had predicted that. He was already waiting beneath the branches on that side. A fireball drove Kakashi away from the dry brush and toward the dirt lane they had chosen. Naruto attacked high. Kakashi caught one clone and used it as a shield against another. Sasuke's shuriken came low. Kakashi twisted aside. Sakura's kunai cut the bell cord. Both bells dropped, but Kakashi kicked one into the grass while catching the other between two fingers. Naruto changed direction. Instead of chasing the bell Kakashi still held, he sent two clones at the Jonin and dove after the one in the grass. Sasuke used the opening to force Kakashi's hand wide with a shuriken, and Sakura caught the second bell when it slipped free. They had finally taken both. Naruto held one, and Sakura held the other. Sasuke stood between them, empty-handed. Kakashi looked at the three genin and reminded them of the rule. 2 bells still meant 2 winners. Naruto walked to the center stump and placed his bell on top of it. Sakura looked at Sasuke, then placed hers beside Naruto's. Sasuke's expression tightened. He told them he did not need charity. Naruto said that if the point of the exercise was to make them throw one teammate away before their first mission, then Kakashi could keep his bells. Sasuke added that returning to the academy would be irritating, but working with an idiot who abandoned teammates would be worse. Naruto immediately demanded to know who Sasuke had called an idiot. Kakashi picked up both bells. Team 7 passed. The weeks that followed were less dramatic. They caught runaway animals, weeded gardens, carried deliveries, repaired roofs, and escorted elderly villagers across crowded roads. Naruto complained about almost every D-rank mission. Sakura told him that becoming Hokage apparently involved a surprising amount of yard work. Sasuke rarely joined their arguments, but his silence slowly became less hostile. Naruto also spent several evenings each week completing the punishment Hiruzen had assigned, after the scroll of sealing incident. He repaired damaged storage shelves, copied inventory records, and learned that dust could make him complain more loudly than any bandit. Sakura occasionally studied nearby while he worked, but she never did the punishment for him. The three of them trained between assignments. Sasuke challenged Naruto's taijutsu because the clones made him difficult to predict. Naruto challenged Sasuke because losing to him remained unbearable. Sakura studied both of them and discovered how much faster a real fight moved compared with academy drills. Sasuke often stayed after the others left, repeating fire techniques until his throat hurt, or striking a post until the Uchiha crest on his back was dark with sweat. The closer he came to Team 7, the more obvious it became that his promise to kill Itachi had not weakened. He was simply learning to care about people while carrying it. Kakashi did not turn Sakura into a different shinobi overnight. He corrected her footwork and made her throw kunai while moving, instead of standing still. He forced Naruto to fight while protecting an objective rather than simply attacking. And he forced Sasuke to call for help when a drill required it. One exercise revealed something Naruto had never understood about the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Kakashi sent a clone around a hill to read a sequence of painted numbers, then told Naruto to dispel it. Naruto repeated the numbers before realizing he had never seen them with his own eyes. Kakashi tested the effect twice more and explained that a shadow clone returned its experiences when it vanished. From then on, Naruto practiced using one or two clones as scouts. Separate streams of information were much harder to sort than a crowd of clones all fighting the same target, so Kakashi made him increase the number slowly. Their progress came in small pieces. That was why Kakashi finally accepted a C-rank assignment for them. The mission sounded ordinary. A chain of mountain settlements near the western edge of the Land of Fire had suffered repeated attacks on supply caravans. Local officials reported common bandits and no confirmed shinobi activity, which kept the assignment at C rank. Team 7 would escort medicine, grain, and tools through a route called Ash Pass, then confirm whether the road was safe enough for civilian traffic. 2 civilian teamsters would drive the mule carts, while Kakashi's team handled security. Naruto celebrated the moment he heard the word bandits. Sakura reminded him that real people attacking with real weapons were not training dummies. Sasuke said Naruto would probably learn that after getting stabbed once. Naruto promised to make Sasuke test the theory first. Kakashi looked at all three of them and wondered whether accepting the mission had been a mistake. 3 days later, Team 7 left Konoha. Ash Pass earned its name from the old charcoal roads that cut through the mountains. Kilns had once burned on nearly every slope, and even years after most were abandoned, gray dust still collected between the roots of cedar trees and inside cracks in the stone. The main road climbed through narrow cuts where a wagon could barely turn, then crossed wooden bridges over cold streams before reaching 3 small settlements that depended on trade from the east. The first day was almost disappointing. 5 road thieves tried to stop the supply carts near a fallen tree. They had clubs, 2 short swords, and more confidence than training. Naruto sent 3 shadow clones around the tree, while Sasuke went straight through the center. The fight lasted less than a minute. One bandit swung at a clone and lost his weapon when the clone ducked. Sasuke kicked another into a ditch. Sakura tripped a third with a wire she had anchored between 2 stones. Kakashi did not move from the lead cart. Naruto stood over the groaning bandits afterward and looked offended. He had expected a mission. Kakashi told him he had just completed one. The bandits were tied and left with a written marker for the nearest patrol post. Team 7 continued west. The second attack never came. That worried Kakashi more. Near sunset, Sakura found a blackened patch beneath the remains of a wagon. At first, it looked like ordinary fire damage. Then she noticed the burn was too clean. A square of wood had been scorched around the outline of something that was no longer there. He crouched beside the mark and brushed ash away with 2 fingers. The corner of an explosive tag remained fused to the wood. Sasuke examined the road behind them. One wheel rut ended abruptly near the cliffside, as if earth had risen beneath the wagon and tipped it over. Naruto asked if bandits used explosive tags. Kakashi said some did. His tone made it clear that he did not believe these had. They reached the largest of the 3 settlements after dark. Families from the 2 smaller hamlets had already moved there after the shed fires, so about 40 civilians were sleeping in houses meant for half that number. The teamsters pulled the mule carts behind a stone warehouse while Kakashi met the headman. The headman explained that the attacks had begun 6 weeks earlier. At first, thieves took food. Then someone started blocking roads with landslides. A group of masked men appeared afterward and offered to keep the route safe for a monthly payment. The settlement paid once. The next month, the price doubled. When they refused, 2 storage sheds burned. Kakashi asked why this had not been included in the mission report. The headman admitted that the regional clerk had called it ordinary extortion and insisted the attackers were not shinobi. Nobody in the settlement had seen a jutsu clearly enough to prove otherwise. Sakura looked toward the dark road outside. The regional clerk might have been careless, frightened, or paid to keep the mission classified as a bandit problem. They did not have enough evidence yet to know which. Kakashi changed their plan immediately. The civilians would remain inside the settlement until he knew more. The supply carts would be moved behind a stone warehouse. He summoned a small ninken and attached a sealed message to its harness for the nearest Konoha post. The report requested reinforcements and warned that the mission might involve rogue shinobi. Naruto asked if they were going home. Kakashi said they were going nowhere until he knew whether the eastern road they had used was still open. He took Sasuke to scout it. Naruto and Sakura remained at the settlement. The 2 of them spent the next hour helping move sacks of grain while trying not to stare toward the tree line. Naruto finally muttered that this felt worse than fighting. Sakura agreed. Waiting gave imagination too much time. Kakashi returned near midnight with Sasuke and bad news. A fresh landslide covered part of the eastern road. The collapse was not natural. Someone had cut into the upper slope and placed explosive tags beneath the rock shelf. They were not trapped forever. Kakashi could clear a path with time, and reinforcements would eventually reach them by another route. The problem was the settlement. About 40 civilians were now sitting beside a road that an enemy had deliberately closed. Kakashi ordered everyone to sleep in the stone warehouse and 2 adjacent houses where the walls were thick and windows could be watched. He placed wire alarms in the trees and assigned Team 7 rotating watches. Nothing happened for most of the night. Then, just before dawn, one of the wires snapped. Naruto woke to Sakura's hand on his shoulder. He was standing before he was fully awake. Smoke rolled between the houses. It was not fire smoke. It was thick gray cover, released from clay pellets thrown into the street. A figure moved through it, near the grain carts. Naruto created 4 clones and sent them forward. The first clone disappeared when a wire tightened across its chest. The second ducked beneath the line and stepped onto another. A bundle of sharpened wooden stakes swung from the side of the house. The clone vanished under the impact. Sakura caught Naruto's jacket before the original could follow. She pointed low. Thin wires crossed the street at ankle and waist height, nearly invisible in the smoke. Sasuke landed beside them and threw 3 shuriken. 2 cut wires. The third struck a smoke pellet before it could burst and knocked it into an empty alley. Kakashi appeared on the warehouse roof. He ordered them to hold the civilians inside while he went after the attackers. A scream came from the far end of the street. Naruto turned. Sakura stood there, half hidden by smoke, one hand pressed to her side. Naruto moved, before thinking. He jumped over the nearest wire and ran toward her. Sasuke swore and followed. The Sakura in the smoke raised her head. Her face changed. The pink hair darkened. Her body lengthened. An adult man in a gray field cloak replaced her in a burst of chakra smoke. Transformation Jutsu. Naruto had one instant to understand the trick before the man's heel struck his chest. He flew backward and hit the ground. The attacker drew a short blade. Sasuke's shuriken forced him to twist away from Naruto. The real Sakura appeared from the opposite alley and slammed a kunai into the wire behind the man, pinning it to a fence post. so he could not pull a prepared trap closed around them. The attacker looked from Sakura to Naruto and smiled beneath his cloth mask. He had learned what he wanted. He threw 2 smoke pellets at his feet and retreated. Naruto sent clones after him. Kakashi dropped into the street and stopped the pursuit with one command. The clones froze. A second later, an explosion rolled through the trees where they would have gone. Naruto stared at the fire and dirt rising beyond the houses. The enemy had prepared the escape route too. The entire attack had lasted perhaps 90 seconds. The attackers withdrew without stealing grain or injuring a civilian. They had never seriously tried to enter the warehouse. Kakashi's expression hardened. They had been testing Team 7. At sunrise, they found one attacker Naruto had managed to strike with a clone. A few drops of blood marked a fence. Kakashi also found a narrow metal badge caught on a splinter. The symbol had been filed away, but the shape matched field equipment used by several small shinobi settlements west of the Land of Fire. The attackers were not ordinary thieves who happened to know jutsu. They were trained shinobi running an extortion operation. Kakashi gathered Team 7 behind the warehouse. He did not praise them for surviving. He began with Naruto. The false Sakura had worked because Naruto had abandoned everything he knew the moment he believed she was hurt. If Sasuke had not followed, Naruto would have taken a blade while the real Sakura remained somewhere else entirely. Naruto's jaw tightened. She had also broken position. She had seen Naruto run into the trap and moved after him instead of staying on the warehouse entrance, as ordered. Then, Kakashi looked at Sasuke. Sasuke had followed both of them, which had left the civilians with only Kakashi between them and the enemy. Sasuke argued that if he had not followed, Naruto might have died. Kakashi agreed. That was the problem. The team had survived because all 3 had reacted to the mistake quickly enough. A stronger enemy would create the same mistake on purpose, and then punish the correction. Naruto kicked Ash from the road and said he understood. Kakashi told him understanding after a trap was cheaper than understanding during one. The sentence followed Naruto for the rest of the day. Reinforcements were still hours away. The Ninken had returned with a short message from the border post. 2 Chunin teams were moving toward them from the southeast, but another engineered landslide had slowed the route. Kakashi spent the next half hour inspecting the ground around the warehouse district. Behind the largest building, he found fresh cuts in the retaining slope and chakra-treated cord disappearing beneath packed earth. Kurose's people had prepared the hillside before Team 7 ever arrived. A strong detonation could drop rock onto the warehouse and the 2 houses where Kakashi had concentrated about 40 civilians. The dawn raid had shown the enemy exactly where everyone was. Waiting several more hours would turn the shelter into a hostage cage. There was an older ridge road north of the main pass, too narrow for carts, but wide enough for people carrying supplies. The headman said the charcoal families had stopped using it years ago, and that it did not appear on the current merchant maps. It led to an abandoned charcoal station, and then down toward a patrol road beyond the blocked section. One of Kakashi's Ninken ran the route ahead and found no people on it, although buried traps could still escape scent. Kakashi chose evacuation because the hidden road gave the civilians a moving route toward the approaching patrols, while staying guaranteed that Kurose could collapse the settlement around them. The carts and heaviest grain would remain behind the stone warehouse until Konoha cleared the main road. Medicine, water, blankets, and as much food as people could carry went with them. Naruto objected when an old man tried to lift a sack nearly as large as his body. He made 2 clones and took it instead. Sakura organized the civilians into small groups rather than one long crowd. Sasuke moved ahead with Kakashi to check the first section of trail. They found no traps for the first mile. That made everyone more nervous. By noon, the group reached the abandoned charcoal station. The place sat above a narrow gorge. 6 empty kiln houses and a long wooden storehouse lined the slope. An old suspension bridge crossed the river toward the northern trail. The bridge was weathered and too weak for carts, but the headman said 6 lightly loaded people could cross the central span safely if they kept their distance. Kakashi examined the planks ropes, and visible underside before allowing anyone onto the crossing. He found no tags on the bridge itself. Sakura had been assigned the stone anchors and approaches, and she found the first one beneath loose dirt beside the main rope. She saw a corner of paper where rain had washed soil away. Kakashi stopped everyone. He uncovered the tag without touching the inked center. Then, he found another. And another. The entire crossing had been prepared. A voice came from the roof of the storehouse. The man standing there was lean, middle-aged, and dressed in dark clothes beneath a gray cloak. His forehead protector had been cut through the center and stripped of its original symbol. 3 other shinobi stood among the kilns. One was the wire specialist who had worn Sakura's face that morning. The other 2 stayed near the northern ridge, positioned to close the patrol road if civilians broke through. Several ordinary bandits waited farther up the slope with bows. The leader introduced himself as Tetsuma Kurose. Kakashi recognized the name from an old border notice. Kurose had once worked as a hired shinobi guard on relief routes in the small territories west of the Land of Fire. He had disappeared after an investigation into missing shipments. That work explained how he knew abandoned charcoal roads that no longer appeared on merchant maps. Kurose did not deny it. He said roads were valuable because everyone needed them, and few people knew how to protect them. Villages paid their lords, and lords paid shinobi. He claimed he had simply removed the unnecessary steps. Kakashi told him extortion usually sounded less impressive when the person being robbed described it. Kurose smiled. Then, one of the bandits released a flaming arrow. It struck the roof of an empty kiln shed that had been soaked with lamp oil. Fire climbed the wood immediately. A second arrow struck the grass behind the civilians. The 2 ridge shinobi disappeared north through the trees, moving to close the patrol road while the crowd broke formation. Kakashi shouted for them to stay together. The ground moved. Kurose slammed both palms down. Earth-style lifted a ridge of stone through the middle of the station. The wall split Kakashi from Team 7 and separated several civilians from the bridge approach. Sasuke jumped back before the rising rock caught his legs. Naruto created clones. Sakura looked for the explosive tags. The fight became 3 problems at once. Kurose had planned it that way. The wire specialist from the morning attack, a man Kakashi later identified as Nagi, moved along the bridge anchors with a short blade in one hand. He did not attack Sakura directly at first. He cut a small cord attached to one of the buried tags. Sakura heard the snap. A fuse line hissed beneath the dirt. She threw herself down and cut the cord with her kunai before the burning chakra thread reached the first tag. Nagi attacked immediately. His blade came down toward her shoulder. Sasuke intercepted it with a kunai. Metal rang. Nagi was stronger. Sasuke's arm bent under the pressure. He stepped aside instead of trying to hold the block and let Nagi's weight carry him forward. Sasuke kicked at his knee. Nagi jumped over the kick and pulled his free hand backward. 3 wires tightened across the ground. Sakura saw them rise. She grabbed Sasuke's collar and dragged him down. A line passed where his throat had been. Across the station, Naruto had a different problem. The civilians were trying to reach the bridge, but Kurose's earth wall had forced them into a narrow lane between 2 burning sheds. Arrows fell from the ridge. Naruto's clones rushed uphill. The ordinary bandits were not a serious match for trained genin in close combat, but they did not need to win. They fired from distance and retreated behind prepared stone cover. 2 clones vanished under arrows. 4 more reached the ridge. The bandits dropped their bows and drew knives. Naruto's clones hit them in a wave. One bandit went down under a punch. Another tried to run and found a clone already behind him. Within seconds, the archers were either unconscious or fleeing deeper into the trees. Naruto did not chase. He remembered the explosion from the morning. Instead, he sent 2 clones to check the tree line, while the rest returned to the civilians. That decision saved them. The first scouting clone stepped on a concealed trigger and disappeared in a burst of smoke as a section of hillside collapsed where a pursuing group would have been. Naruto saw the memory when the clone vanished. He swore and redirected everyone away from that slope. Kurose watched from the top of his earth wall. The boy learned quickly. Kakashi reached Kurose a moment later. The difference between them was obvious from the first exchange. Kurose threw a kunai. Kakashi deflected it and crossed half the distance before Kurose finished his next hand sign. Kurose raised an earth wall. Kakashi ran up it. Kurose detonated a tag buried inside the wall. Stone and smoke blew outward. Kakashi twisted away, landed on one hand, and came forward again. Kurose did not try to beat him directly. He retreated through the prepared station and forced Kakashi to choose between pursuit and the traps placed beneath civilians. When Kakashi closed in, Kurose triggered another section of weakened earth above the bridge approach. Kakashi broke off and used Earth Style to brace the slope before it could bury 6 people. Kurose escaped behind the next kiln. He was not stronger than Kakashi. He had simply built a battlefield where strength could not be used carelessly. At the bridge anchors, Nagi drove Sasuke backward with wire and short blade attacks, while Sakura tried to understand the trigger system. There were 7 visible tags. There were probably more beneath the soil. Each was linked by chakra-treated cord. Cutting the wrong line could transfer the trigger to the next branch. Sakura had never been taught advanced sealing. She did not pretend otherwise. Instead, she studied the physical layout. Nagi needed a way to trigger the network from a safe distance. That meant at least one line had to lead away from the tags toward his position. She found it when he shifted his left foot. A thin cord moved beneath the ash. Sakura threw a kunai at the ground beside him. Nagi jumped away from the blade. The cord moved again. Sakura knew which line mattered now. She shouted to Sasuke. Sasuke threw 2 shuriken, not at Nagi, but at the wooden posts behind him. The shuriken wrapped wire around the posts and pinned Nagi's trigger cord against the timber. The cord did not move. Sakura cut the main line between him and the first branch. 3 of the tags went dead. Nagi's face changed. From the top of the earth wall, Kurose gave a short hand signal towards Sakura. The gesture was the same kind of silent command the attackers had used during the dawn test. Nagi stopped trying to recover the trigger and rushed her instead. Kurose was no longer only protecting the bridge trap. After seeing the number of shadow clones Naruto could create, he wanted to know whether threatening the pink-haired teammate would produce anything else worth selling. Sasuke intercepted again. This time, Sakura did not retreat. Nagi expected Sasuke to protect her and kept most of his attention on the Uchiha. Sakura stepped inside his blind side and drove the heel of her palm into the nerve cluster above his elbow, exactly as Kakashi had shown her in training. Nagi's weapon hand spasmed. The blade dropped. Sasuke kicked it away. Nagi spun, snapped a short length of cutting wire from the guard on his free wrist, and slashed it across Sakura's shoulder. The wire opened her uniform and skin before she fell hard against the bridge anchor. Pain shot down her side. Naruto saw her hit the ground, and the world narrowed. By then, 32 civilians had already reached the far bank. 5 waited at the near approach for their turn. Naruto was halfway across, with the final group already on the planks. An injured woman leaned on his shoulder. One child clung to a clone several steps ahead, and another child crossed behind them beside a second clone. Smoke covered the far side. Sakura was down near Nagi. Sasuke was still fighting. Naruto's feet turned toward them. Then, he saw the bridge rope jerk. Another fuse had started beneath the planks. Kurose had built a second trigger. If Naruto left, the 3 civilians already on the weakened span would lose the only shinobi coordinating their crossing, and the 5 civilians waiting behind them would be trapped beside the burning station. Sakura pushed herself up on one arm. Blood spread through the fabric where Nagi's wrist wire had cut her shoulder. Heat surged beneath Naruto's skin. Red chakra flickered around his hands. For 1 second, the bridge, the fire, and the shouting all sounded far away. Something vast and angry pressed against the inside of him. The fear he had felt in the forest with Mizuki returned in a different form. This time, it offered him power instead of shame. He could cross the distance faster. He could tear Nagi apart. he could make sure nobody ever touched Sakura again. Naruto took one step. Sasuke looked across the bridge and saw his eyes changing. He shouted that Sakura was alive and told Naruto to finish his side. Sakura heard him too. She raised her head and met Naruto's stare. "Trust me," she said. Naruto's hands shook as he forced his fingers into the shadow clone sign. He did not command the red chakra or understand the seal. He did the only thing he could control and stopped feeding the surge with panic. The chakra shivered, then pulled closer to his skin instead of bursting outward as he slowed his breathing until he could feel his own hands again. He made 2 more clones. The bridge groaned under the sudden extra weight. One clone vaulted over the side and caught the lower rope, swinging beneath the boards toward the burning fuse. The other sprinted ahead and jumped onto the far stone anchor, where it could guide the children off the planks. As Naruto's first 2 clones delivered the children, they moved onto solid ground and grabbed the side ropes from opposite ends. The clone beneath the bridge found the fuse a heartbeat before it reached the next tag. It ripped the paper free, and the tag detonated in its hand. The clone vanished. The blast broke 3 planks, but did not reach the main anchor. Naruto kept the injured woman moving, while the children followed the safer edge marked by his clones. He did not look back towards Sakura until the 3 civilians with him reached solid ground. The 5 civilians, still waiting, stayed behind cover until Sasuke and Sakura disabled Nagi's remaining trigger lines. When he finally turned, the red chakra around his hands had faded. Sakura was still standing. Nagi was not. She and Sasuke had changed the fight while Naruto evacuated the bridge. Once Nagi lost his main trigger line, he had tried to retreat toward the kiln houses. Sasuke used shuriken to drive him away from the open path and toward the narrow space Sakura had chosen. Nagi threw wire across Sasuke's legs. Sasuke jumped. Sakura kicked ash into Nagi's eyes. He turned his face for a fraction of a second. Sasuke's shoulder hit his chest. Nagi stumbled backward into his own anchored wire. The line caught behind his knees. Sakura swept his ankle. He hit the ground. Sasuke ended the fight with the hilt of his kunai against Nagi's temple. The wire specialist went limp. Sakura immediately returned to the remaining tags. She had no interest in standing over a defeated enemy while a bridge could still explode. By then, Kakashi had stabilized the collapsing slope. Kurose saw the civilians reaching the far side and understood that his main leverage was gone. He abandoned the station. Kakashi went after him. This time there was nothing left to force him back. Kurose reached the tree line and formed an Earth-style sign. Kakashi appeared behind him before the jutsu finished. Kurose twisted with a kunai. Kakashi caught his wrist, drove an elbow into his ribs, and threw him into the dirt. Kurose rolled, slapped one palm against the ground, and raised a jagged stone barrier between them. Kakashi broke through the side instead of the center. Kurose barely had time to turn. A gloved hand closed around the back of his collar. Kakashi slammed him face first against the stone and pinned his arm behind him. The fight between the 2 adults ended there. Kurose's danger had come from preparation, civilians, and terrain. Once those were removed, he was a rogue shinobi facing an elite Konoha Jonin at close range. He never had a chance. Once Kurose was bound, Kakashi ordered a systematic search of the storehouse and kiln offices. Sakura noticed that one floorboard beneath Kurose's writing desk had no ash in its seams. A Naruto clone lifted it and found a leather document case wrapped in oilcloth. Most of the papers were ordinary records of stolen shipments and payments demanded from villages. Obsolete relief maps in the case included the ridge road Team 7 had used, confirming how Kurose had reached the charcoal station first. The ledger also contained monthly entries to the regional clerk, who had insisted the attacks were ordinary bandit work. The amounts began shortly before the mission reports were downgraded. One folded sheet was different. It had no name, only instructions from an outside buyer. Reliable information about young shinobi with abnormal chakra reserves was worth money. Visible transformations under stress were worth more. Reports connected to what the letter called sealed beasts carried the highest payment. Several territories were listed beside small marks, showing where information had already been requested. The Land of Wind was one of them. The Dawn Test and Kurose's order to Nagi suddenly made sense. Kurose had not known what Naruto carried. He had seen how many solid clones a fresh genin could sustain while protecting civilians, recognized a chance for extra payment, and tested the easiest emotional pressure point his men had discovered. Naruto read only part of the page before Kakashi took it from his hands. Kakashi's visible eye became very still. He folded the letter and placed it inside his vest. Naruto asked whether it had something to do with the Nine Tails. Kakashi said it might. Sakura looked toward Naruto. For once, she did not move closer automatically. She remembered the morning attack. She remembered the bridge. She made herself stay where she was and let Naruto decide whether he wanted someone beside him. Naruto noticed. He walked to her instead. That small choice told Kakashi almost as much as the battle had. The Konoha reinforcements reached the station late that afternoon. Kurose and Nagi were bound for transport. The two rogue shinobi, who had been positioned on the northern ridge, were captured by the approaching Chunin teams while trying to circle around the patrol road. Most of the ordinary bandits surrendered, or were collected the next day. Although one ridge runner escaped west before the cordon closed, Team 7 still had one job left. The supplies had to reach the settlements. Once Konoha shinobi cleared the main road, the two teamsters recovered the mule carts from the stone warehouse. Medicine reached all three communities, and Kurose's hidden stores were found in two caves and returned to the people he had robbed. The local extortion network was finished. For the first time since the attacks began, wagons moved through Ash Pass without paying anyone for permission. The mission had been won. The part that stayed with Naruto happened afterward. Several civilians had seen the red chakra on the bridge. Most were too busy surviving to understand what it meant. By evening, after fires were out and wounds had been wrapped, the questions began. Naruto heard two men whispering near the storehouse. One said the blonde genin's eyes had changed. Another said he had felt something in the air when the red chakra appeared, something that made his skin crawl. A woman whose son Naruto's clone had carried across the broken bridge looked at him with gratitude and fear, fighting across the same face. Naruto knew that expression. He had spent most of his childhood learning how to recognize it before a person spoke. He took half a step away from the group. Sakura saw it. Years earlier, she would have worried about who else was watching before moving. This time, she walked straight to him. The frightened woman asked Kakashi what had happened to Naruto on the bridge. Kakashi began to answer carefully, but one of the men interrupted and said that whatever that chakra was, it had not felt human. Naruto's hand closed around the edge of his sleeve. Sakura turned toward the man. "He saved your children," she said. Her voice stayed calm, and the people nearest the storehouse heard every word. The man looked toward the bridge. Two children Naruto had carried were sitting beneath a blanket nearby. One of them kept pointing toward the damaged bridge and telling anyone who listened that several Narutos had carried people across at the same time. Nobody answered Sakura. Naruto looked at her. Sakura stayed beside him while Kakashi finished the field report and the medics checked her shoulder. She left Naruto room to speak for himself, but she did not leave him to face the crowd alone. Sasuke remained nearby as well, pretending he was only waiting for Kakashi's orders. Kakashi took the witnesses seriously. He asked the three headmen to keep descriptions of Naruto's chakra out of merchant gossip until Konoha understood who was buying such information. The captured bandits were questioned about messages sent from Ash Pass. None admitted sending a report after the bridge battle, but the missing ridge runner meant Kakashi could not assume the sighting had been contained. The trip back to Konoha took 4 days because Team 7 spent the first 2 with the reinforcement squads, delivering medicine to the smaller hamlets, helping return stolen supplies, and waiting until Sakura's shoulder was cleared for sustained travel. Sakura's shoulder had been cut rather than deeply stabbed, so the wound was painful but not dangerous. She wore a bandage beneath her shirt and complained whenever Naruto tried to carry her pack. Naruto argued that she had been injured because he had made a mistake in the first attack. Sakura told him she had been injured because Nagi was an adult shinobi with more experience than she had, and because she had chosen to stay in the fight. If Naruto wanted to help, he could stop treating her like she might break every time she got hurt. Naruto did not like the answer. He listened anyway. The next morning, Sakura woke to find that he had not touched her pack. He had quietly taken the heavier water container from the shared supplies instead. She noticed and said nothing. Sasuke noticed too, and looked annoyed at both of them. Their return to Konoha was quieter than their departure. Kakashi reported directly to the third Hokage. The captured shinobi were transferred for interrogation, and the Ash Pass ledger and anonymous letter went into a sealed intelligence file. The ledger was enough to order the regional clerk detained for questioning. His payments matched the dates on which reports from Ash Pass had been minimized. Hiruzen also reclassified the completed assignment as B rank because Team 7 had faced trained rogue shinobi. The additional mission pay would come from the Land of Fire's security budget, rather than from the settlements that had already been extorted. Hiruzen read the page about abnormal chakra twice. Kakashi explained exactly what had happened when Naruto's chakra changed. The surge had been brief. Naruto had remained aware, and he had stopped himself from abandoning civilians when Sakura was injured. Kakashi then gave the less comfortable part of the report. Several civilians and bandits had witnessed the change, and one Ridge Runner was still unaccounted for. Naruto's identity might reach the unknown buyer, even if nobody at Ash Pass meant to sell it. The old Hokage had watched Naruto grow from a distance that now felt more complicated than it once had. He knew better than most what had been placed inside the boy, and he knew how quickly fear became policy when incomplete reports reached powerful desks. He ordered Naruto's next assignments reviewed personally until they understood who was collecting information. The letter worried him more than the flare itself. 3 months earlier, Konoha Intelligence had archived a vague broker request taken from a merchant near the southern border. It mentioned the Kazekage's youngest child and offered money for reports about unusual chakra, but it contained no names, no organization, and no link to the Land of Fire. By itself, it had been too thin to act on. Kurose's letter used several of the same phrases. Now Hiruzen had a pattern. He restricted the information and sent a coded inquiry toward Sunagakure through official channels. He did not tell Naruto about the southern report that night. Naruto had earned several days in which his life was allowed to be about something smaller than the politics surrounding the Nine Tails. Naruto spent the first of those days keeping a little distance from Sakura, though he never disappeared from her life. He still trained with her and Sasuke, visited Iruka, and complained about hospital food, even though he was not the patient. He acted normal enough that Sakura waited. Sakura had her own conversation at home. Her mother saw the bandage beneath Sakura's sleeve and heard the official version of the mission from a Konoha messenger. When Sakura finally explained that Naruto had been the one carrying civilians across the bridge when his chakra changed, her mother went quiet in the same kitchen where she had once cut a radish too hard, rather than answer a child's question. She admitted that the Nine Tails still frightened her. Sakura answered that being frightened did not give anyone the right to decide what Naruto was before he acted. Her mother looked at the bandage, then at her daughter, and asked whether Naruto had brought himself back under control. Sakura said yes. The subject was not settled forever, but her mother did not tell Sakura to stay away from him. On the third evening, Naruto asked her to meet him on the academy roof. It was the same place where she had apologized years earlier. The village was warm below them. Shops were closing. Smoke from cooking fires moved between the buildings. Children still at the academy yard were finishing late practice. Naruto sat on the roof tiles with his knees raised. Sakura sat beside him. For a while, he talked about the mission instead of what he had asked her there to discuss. He complained that Sasuke had taken credit for pinning Nagi's wire. Sakura reminded him that Naruto had spent that part of the fight carrying civilians across a collapsing bridge and could survive letting Sasuke have one victory. Naruto grumbled. Then the subject ran out of places to hide. He asked Sakura whether she had first become his friend because she felt sorry for him. Sakura had known some version of the question would come eventually. She could have denied it. That would have been easier. She told the truth instead. At the beginning, pity had been part of it. She had seen him alone in the rain and thought it was unfair. She had seen adults treat him badly and wanted to understand why. She had worried about him because there seemed to be nobody else doing it. Naruto looked down at his hands. Sakura continued before he could turn the first part into the whole answer. Pity was not why she kept coming back. She kept coming back because Naruto could fail at something 10 times and somehow make the 11th attempt look exciting. Because he said ridiculous things with complete confidence. Because when Sakura was afraid of looking foolish, Naruto made looking foolish seem survivable. Because he noticed when she was angry, even when he usually guessed the wrong reason. Because he could be selfish about ramen, reckless about training, and still throw himself between danger and people he had met 5 minutes earlier. She reminded him of the bridge. Naruto had wanted to run to her. She knew that. He had stayed with the civilians because he trusted her to do her job. That was not a child waiting to be rescued by the first person who was kind to him. That was the person Sakura had grown to love. Naruto stopped moving. Sakura realized she had finally said the word aloud. She had imagined this moment often enough to expect her face to burn or her mind to collapse. Instead, she felt strangely irritated that Naruto was staring at her as if she had just announced an invasion. He asked her to say it again. Sakura refused. Naruto immediately complained that he had waited years and deserved at least 2 times. Sakura told him he was ruining the moment. Naruto smiled. This smile was different from the one he had used in the academy doorway years earlier. Sakura knew the difference now. He told her that he loved her too. The words came awkwardly. Naruto admitted that he did not know exactly when it had happened. He had spent years assuming Sakura was simply the person he wanted beside him. At some point, imagining a future where she was not there had become impossible. Sakura leaned her shoulder against his. Naruto immediately remembered the bandage and jerked away, worried he had hurt her. Sakura grabbed his sleeve and pulled him back. They stayed on the roof until the academy caretaker shouted that if 2 genin were going to sit up there after dark, they could at least help close the windows. Becoming a couple did not transform them into different people the next morning. Naruto still argued with Sasuke during training. Sakura still got annoyed when Naruto skipped the boring parts of Kakashi's instructions. They did not spend every hour holding hands or announcing their relationship to strangers. The change was simpler. They both knew how the other felt, and that certainty removed a tension that had existed between them for years. 3 days later, Ino removed the last possibility of keeping it private for long. She found Sakura, Naruto, Shikamaru, and Choji outside a dumpling shop after training. Sasuke was nearby, pretending he was not part of the group. Naruto and Sakura were standing closer than usual. Ino noticed within seconds. She looked at Sakura, then at Naruto, then back at Sakura. Her smile took on the familiar look that meant Sakura was about to be embarrassed. She asked whether there was finally something Sakura wanted to admit. Sakura knew exactly what she was doing. Years earlier, a similar circle of attention had made Sakura panic. She remembered the academy steps. She remembered Naruto standing in the doorway with training weights in one hand. She remembered spending weeks trying to repair what one frightened answer had damaged. This time, her heartbeat still quickened. That was all. Ino asked, louder now, whether Sakura was really dating Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto turned bright red before Sakura did. Sakura looked at him. Then she reached down and took his hand. Yes, she said. I love him. Ino stared at her for 1 beat. Then she laughed and said it had taken long enough. Choji smiled around a mouthful of food. Shikamaru muttered that everyone with eyes had known for years. Sasuke made a quiet sound that might have been a laugh and walked away before Naruto could demand an explanation. Naruto remained completely still. He looked down at their fingers and then at the people around them. Naruto looked around the small group as if he expected the moment to break. Ino was still smiling. Choji kept eating. Shikamaru looked bored, and Sasuke had already started walking away. Sakura's hand remained in his. Naruto's grin spread so wide that Ino immediately warned him not to become unbearable. For the rest of the afternoon, he found excuses to use the phrase, "my girlfriend," until Sakura threatened to hit him. The threat only made him happier. Kakashi endured this development for less than a week before assigning Team 7 an exhausting training circuit outside the village. He claimed the timing was unrelated. Nobody believed him. The larger consequences of Ash Pass arrived quietly. One evening, Kakashi was called to the Hokage's office after Team 7 had finished training. Hiruzen had received an answer from the south. Sunagakure did not confirm any classified information about its Jinchuriki or the Kazekage's children. Konoha had sent only the exact wording used by the brokers, and Suna replied that the phrases matched requests recently seen along their own trade routes. To confirm that both villages were tracking the same network, Suna included one limited description already known to foreign merchants. The brokers had shown unusual interest in a young red-haired genin who carried a large gourd and whose sand moved in ways ordinary guards could not explain. Similar buyers had appeared farther west. Someone was collecting information, and the pattern was too deliberate to ignore. Hiruzen still did not know who stood behind it, but Konoha and Suna now had a reason to compare evidence before the brokers disappeared. A small Leaf delegation would travel south after arrangements were complete. A diplomatic officer from the Hokage's staff would lead it, and a sealing specialist would accompany Kakashi's team. Team 7 was included because they had direct knowledge of the Ash Pass letter and its field methods. Naruto was the riskier reason. If the unknown buyers were categorizing children like him, Konoha needed to understand the pattern before somebody else decided how to use it. Kakashi asked whether bringing Naruto closer to another possible target was wise. Hiruzen said leaving both villages ignorant would be worse. The mission would not begin immediately. Team 7 had earned rest, medical clearance, and several more weeks of training. Kakashi accepted the assignment. He told the team the next afternoon. Naruto's reaction to the Land of Wind was immediate excitement. He had never seen a desert. Sakura asked practical questions about travel, supplies, and why Team 7 needed to accompany an adult diplomatic party at all. Sasuke listened most carefully when Kakashi mentioned the red-haired boy from the report. Kakashi told them only what they needed to know. There were signs that the Ash Pass letter belonged to a wider search. Their next mission would help determine how wide. Naruto looked serious for almost 10 seconds. Then he asked whether the desert had ramen. Sakura told him that if it did not, he would survive. Naruto said she had become cruel since they started dating. Sasuke walked ahead and advised Sakura to reconsider while there was still time. Naruto chased him down the street. The argument continued until the sky darkened and rain began to fall over Konoha. It started gently, then thickened into a steady summer shower. People opened umbrellas along the market street. Shopkeepers pulled cloth covers over their displays. Naruto stopped beneath an awning and looked at the rain. For a second, Sakura saw the academy courtyard from years earlier. A small blonde boy had stood alone in water deep enough to soak his sandals, shouting that the future Hokage was not afraid of getting wet, because nobody had come to take him home. Naruto opened the umbrella he had bought that spring. He held it towards Sakura. She stepped beneath it. There was barely enough room for both of them, so Naruto shifted closer and immediately tilted the umbrella too far toward her. Rain ran down his other shoulder. Sakura pushed the handle back toward the center. Naruto complained that he was being considerate. Sakura told him that becoming soaked while holding an umbrella was still stupid. He laughed. They started toward home together. The assignment papers for the southern journey would be waiting at Team 7's meeting place soon. Inside Kakashi's sealed briefing was the name attached to the red-haired genin mentioned in Sunagakure's report. Gaara, the Kazekage's youngest son. In a few weeks, Team 7 would head toward the Land of Wind. For tonight, Naruto and Sakura walked through Konoha under one umbrella, arguing about which of them kept tilting it the wrong way.